Play.
My name is Clara Towson, and I'm a friend of the show.
Boom.
I am Francisca George, and I'm a friend of the show.
Perfect.
Hi, my name is Susan Leemans, and I'm a friend of the show.
Boom. Yeah.
My name is Zainab Sammaz, and I'm a friend of the show.
Boom.
Hey guys, my name is Sasha Vickery, and I'm a friend of the show.
Boom.
Hi, my name is Lloyd Harris, and I'm a friend of the show.
Perfect.
Hi, my name is Jasmine Paolini, and I'm a friend of the show.
Wow, Jasmine, you got it in one time.
Number 10, Mira Andreeva. Number 9, Madison Keys. Number 8 is Victoria Azarenka. Number 7, Marketa Vondrousova. Number 6, Ons Jabeur. Number 5, Jessica Pegula. Number 4, Coco Gauff. Number 3, Iga Swiatek. Number 2, Arina Sabalenka. And number 1, Elena Rybakina.
Ready? Play.
Well, hello there, and welcome to WTA Weekly. And who better to help me preview the Wimbledon draw than the wonderfully expert Mario Baccardi. Mario, how are you doing?
Thank you. It's been a pretty busy day because I've been for the first time in a radio live on air program, and so I was, it's been a bit busy, but I'm fine actually, and looking forward to do this, of course, Wimbledon preview, and even more, of course, watching the matches that will start tomorrow.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, we're going to get into this at the minute. I can confirm that England have now gone through 2-1 against Slovakia in the Euros, which means I will not be distracted. Thank you to everyone who is joining us today. Thank you to anyone who might be listening to back on podcast or watching us back on YouTube. Yes, we are going to do a full WTA draw preview. We're going to go through quarter by quarter. We're not usually, when we do this, we usually do a review of the tournaments that have gone before. I think for the sake of time and flow, I think everyone wants to dive into Wimbledon. What we'll do is when we get to those players who did well at Eastbourne in the draw or Bad Homburg in the draw, we'll cover them then, rather than necessarily doing like a long in-depth thing on Eastbourne and Bad Homburg. I think we'll kind of say, well, they did well. We'll mention how they did in Bad Homburg if we spot those players. So that's how we're going to get going. All right. Okay. So I'm pumped for Wimbledon. Hope you are too, Mario.
Yeah, I am, of course.
Fantastic. Well, I am definitely ready to go. So here's how it's going to work. And this is where you guys in chat on YouTube or Twitch can come in on Twitter and hopefully Instagram as well. And what we're going to do is we're going to basically go through quarter by quarter, and I'm going to be asking Mario the same questions, and I'll have answers for them as well. But please put in your answers in chat as well, because I want to hear it. And essentially, it's what are the best first round matches from each quarter? Who are the players who are the most dangerous for the top 4 seeds? As in overall, so the top seed in the quarter. And what stories are you looking at from this section from people you don't necessarily expect to lift the trophy? So hopefully that's nice and clear. That's how we're going to do this preview, and we'll go from there. So we'll start with as we're saying, okay, I didn't realize it was BBC radio you were doing.
Yeah. Yes, actually, I was with also Cara Black and other people. It was amazing, actually. I don't even know where, I was asking myself, the meme of Arlington, Texas, a polar bear in Texas. Not kidding. But yeah, it's been definitely amazing. I was not expecting to get this request, and I of course accepted with very much excitement.
Was it BBC Radio 5 Live? Because I listened to that a lot.
Yeah, it was live on air. Then they sent me, it's not on demand, the program, but I got the stretch of the show where I was when I was on air, so it was nice. I've talked a little bit about Italian tennis. They were keen on hearing some things about Italian tennis.
Well, we might be talking a little bit about Italian women's tennis today, and we are going to be talking about British tennis as well. Don't worry, Dan. We will address Katie Bolter when we get to her in the draw. But let's look at quarter number 1, the Iga Swiatek quarter. So we'll start off with best matches. What matches from round 1 are catching your eye, Mario?
Is just one match I have to mention? I have to have a clear choice, because I have 2 matches I'm kind of looking forward to. But
you can have 2, because I've got about 6 on my list.
Yeah, I mean, but I was trying to, and I'll go with I think Tomljanovic against Ostapenko. Tomljanovic has been quarterfinalist at Wimbledon in her previous 2 appearances, so not last year, but 21 and 22. Probably she hasn't started the grass season, at least for us, with the highest hopes, but then she went to play a final, and so she's a player to look at. And Ostapenko, some ups and downs. It should be, kind of a roller coaster one, at least for, what I kind of expect. So yeah, not the only one for sure, but I'm trying to pick this one, and I'll start with one, and we will.
Let's start with this one. Yeah, I think Tomljanovic Ostapenko is obviously one to watch. There's an upset alert for Ostapenko there. Tomljanovic reached the Birmingham final. They're both very good class court players. And they have history at Wimbledon, because they did play, I think it was second or third round 2 years ago. And that match was quite fiery, to say the least.
Yeah, I remember. Everyone, remembers if they just watched. So, but yeah, seems like they are doing quite fine right now. So it should have a bit less drama than, at least from that point of view.
You say should. It is... You never know, but yes, you're right.
Yeah, you never know, actually.
I will say, of course, like matches between players who have a little bit of beef generally are less dramatic the second time round. You're right.
Yeah, generally.
What was the other match from that quarter that you identified as a first rounder that was like close to Tomljanovic Ostapenko?
I was about to say, but there is even more than this. But I was about to say, actually, the match between Garcia and Blinkova can be a very fun one for my point of view, because I just think they can match up pretty well against each other, and it's actually even a match that it's pretty difficult also to predict, because they are a bit too unpredictable players, to players that can do very well, and especially Garcia has done very well. Also, she's of course been top 5 player 2 different times, and yeah, I feel like it can be a fun one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I marked that one up as well. I think, again, I would have to put Garcia on upset alert. She's coming in a little off form. Yes, grass she likes, but I think Blinkova's had a good weekend, had Bad Homburg quarterfinals. Yeah. I think that's going to be quite a very closely contested match, because we know Blinkova likes to fight where possible, especially if she believes that she's the underdog.
Yeah, I think, I don't know if you would add another one.
Mm-hmm. Wait, what me? Oh, I can add a few. I mean,
Go.
we are. I'm gonna. There is one that I think we'll come back to. I think because it lines up with question 2, possibly. But I would. Other matches that caught my eye. Krejcikova Kudermetova.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, that's. I don't know how good that match is going to be. Neither of them are like in amazing form, but they're obviously players with decent tennis CVs who are going against each other very early on. They're both decent on grass, I think. So if they decide to, they get up on the right side of bed in the morning, that could be a good one.
Yeah, that's right. Also, probably Collins against Towson.
Yes, that's the other one I've identified. I think Towson didn't figure much on my prediction system, which surprised me, but then makes sense. But I do think she's got the game to take it to Collins, and I think the battle of the big hitting, that's going to be spectacular if they're both on. And Towson's growing in confidence, and of course, she's a friend of the show.
Of course. And actually about Collins, there can be also that question mark about her, I don't know, her adoption, how, in which form she's going to present herself, because after the French Open, her early exit there in Paris, she took some time off the court. So, we're going also to see how well Collins is going to play right from the start, because it's a match where it feels like she needs to perform well already in the first round.
Because Collins has underperformed a bit on grass over her career, I think. Like she hits those big flat strokes. They should work well on grass, but she hasn't necessarily got the CV like over her career to reflect that. I don't know if maybe she struggles with the movement. I haven't observed that closely. So maybe you have a theory about why that might be, but from what it sounds like, also like in terms of just this year, her momentum that she's built up over the post-Miami clay court seasons kind of stalled a bit. And I also wanted to get your views on whether not pulling out of Eastbourne might end up hurting her.
I mean, in the end, I was pretty okay with their choice, because in the end, she's going to retire at the end of the year. So there's not even that motivation in looking for the future, improving on the surface. And given how much she has played, because we have also to remember that right after having won Miami without the first round bye, and she went to win in Charleston the week right after. And then she carried on her momentum on the clay, because she's been pretty good also between Madrid and Rome, beating everybody except for Sabalenka, and she reached the final in Strasbourg, and then of course probably the French Open hasn't gone as well as she would have liked, but she still had the very, very tough run. We shouldn't also forget that at the beginning of the year, she has also had to play some match in qualifying draws. So she had really played a lot until the French Open. And I'm not really surprised that she chose this period to take a little break, because then she has also to focus on the Olympics, which will be very important for her, and of course the last one. And then of course she comes back to the North American hard courts, which of course she would love to perform well there. So I really understand why she chose this fraction of the season to take a breath, let's say.
Yeah, it makes sense from that perspective. Do you think she's more gearing up maybe to have it's not that she's not going to try at Wimbledon, but do you think she's going to put most of her effort into going for the US Open?
Yeah, for sure. For what we saw in, especially in Miami, which has been the last big tournament on the North American hard courts. Of course, she will enter this tournament as one to watch, and it's also her home slam, let's say. So it's it's going to be, of course, special for her going there for one last time to try to compete and do her best. And I'm not, underestimating the Olympics, because I've heard also from some interviews she released back also in a couple of months or even less, how much she cares and wants to do well, to try her best to do well for her country at the Olympics one last time. So then I don't know, it's difficult for me because you're at Wimbledon, so I don't think these are really situations where you choose. I mean, she made a choice for the grass season, and it's been going to Wimbledon without playing any, warm-up event. But then once you're there, I think you take it just a match at a time and try to do the best you can.
There we go. Back to the original thing of matches to watch out for in this quarter in the first round. I've got one more before moving on to kind of the elephant in the room.
Go.
Vondrousova versus Kerber. I quite
Oh,
like
yeah,
the look of
yes.
that one. That could be quite fun.
Yes, for sure, for the way they both play. And Putintseva, we know that, of course, is in a great moment. And Kerber, she's still Angelique Kerber playing at Wimbledon. So why not? Maybe she produces a good performance. I won't be surprised. So, yeah.
Yeah, because Kerber's going in it's a little bit hit and miss, but it's Kerber at Wimbledon, as you say, and she loves this place. But Putintseva's looking very confident, including on grass. So, yeah, I think that could be quite a feisty battle, especially, as you say, they both like to play. I think they'll both find ways of trying to disrupt the other one. So that could be quite an interesting one tactically to watch.
Yes, also, yeah.
All right, I think now is the time to talk about the elephant in the room, and it dovetails nicely into the other question, which is who can stop the top seed in the quarter from making the semis? That top seed is Iga Swiatek, who does not get off to the easiest of starts against Sofia Kenin. Where do you so I want to ask sort of where do you rank the chances of a Kenin upset, and then feel free to kind of go into any other players you think might be more likely to trouble Swiatek and stop her from making semis.
I feel like we maybe can have I'm expecting Iga to win that first round match, but Kenin is also one of these players that even if it's not her best moment, even if she's not in top form, these matches can, excite her a bit and motivate her. And Iga, of course, first match on grass in 2024. So I feel like we can have probably a tougher set and then things getting a bit, easier as the match goes on. I can imagine this kind of scenario, but I actually don't really see Kenin winning this match, if I have to be honest.
Is that because and grass wouldn't play a factor in that, you don't think?
I don't really think so. I think maybe grass can play more of a factor probably later when Iga, when she can face fellow top ranked player, and maybe the difference her face can just make things, I don't know, 5-10% a bit more favorable to her opponent than what maybe could have been on clay at the French Open. But at the beginning, I don't know. Then, of course, I still have to see how Iga will play in this match, and so which feelings I'm going to have watching her play right at the beginning. But I feel like she also has got this kind of problem-solving abilities that at the beginning she will be able to. I don't think grass, will make that big of a difference at the beginning of the tournament. It could be then later on, probably.
Yeah. I kind of agree with you. I think Kenin has the ability to frustrate Swiatek. We saw that at the Australian Open. We actually saw that a little bit in the French Open final they played many years ago, although Iga was maybe a little bit different player then. And grass might help Kenin in that respect, but there's a few things to factor in. One, Iga's level. If it's high enough, she'll win. Secondly, Kenin is not coming in feeling very confident. She'll probably... You're right. She does tend to raise her game for the big occasions. If there's a big occasion, similar thing happened against Goff last year. But we still have to back Swiatek in that scenario.
Yeah.
So my question then is, if we're backing Swiatek to beat Kenin, is she going to struggle more against anyone else potentially in order to get to the semi-finals? And how is? But yeah, actually, no, we'll start with that question.
If I have to make a name, even if I don't, I've never overhyped this matchup issue, but I would mention Ostapenko because I still think, especially maybe on this surface, she can, she has the weapons to trouble Iga, especially if, of course, Jelena plays well and maybe Iga performs at not really 100% in the day. So I feel like the most dangerous player for her game feature, the way she makes things on the court, should be Ostapenko. And then I don't know if Ostapenko makes it to the match, but if I have to make a name which I think Iga can face most troubles with in this quarter, I would say Ostapenko.
Okay. I think most people would agree with that, given the head-to-head. I agree with you that the head-to-head does have specific context for each match that made things difficult for Iga in those specific matches, but Ostapenko on grass is a force. But we also don't even know, we highlighted Ostapenko's opener as the main match of the opening round, right? So against Tomjanovic, she could go out round one. She could go out any round, to be honest.
Sure.
Ostapenko's been really patchy recently.
Yeah.
So, I mean, other players who could be a threat to, Ghosty, we talked about we think Aya is a danger to Penko. She beat her at Wimbledon 2 years ago.
Yeah.
The only other players I think have been identified, Damien identified Garcia as a potential problem, but again, Garcia's in the same category as Ostapenko. We don't even know if she's going to get through her first match.
Yeah, exactly.
The fourth round.
Garcia is also a good choice because if she can have also maybe a good serving day, she can trouble Iga. She also did when they have played around the end of last year in Beijing, when Iga was just starting her unbelievable streak. So yeah,
another one.
Yeah, of course there is the it was United Cup. Yeah. Also. So,
yeah, I think she's on her third unbelievable streak right now.
Yeah, there are, for me, it's almost unstopped one. I kind of consider from Beijing last year to the French Open. Yeah, I mean, a couple of losses here and there, but overall, that's my opinion.
Really strong. Yeah, and that's the thing. Okay, that's the thing. When we're identifying threats here, they are threats because these players are playing well, or they have the opportunity to peak on grass and beat pretty much anyone. But the two factors here are confidence in whether they're going to do that this time, and also how much of a confidence in Iga's level and her development on grass that we've had. And right now, I think you and I are both in the same category as our confidence in Iga on grass right now is pretty high.
Yeah, and also with a player like Iga, honestly, I'm giving a bit less value to the form of the player, but a bit more on has she the game to trouble Iga, because even if that player is on a great streak and is very high on confidence, in my opinion, if she has not the game to trouble Iga, then it becomes very difficult to imagine the upset.
Yeah, because there's two players who could play Iga in the third round who might fit into that category of potentially very good, very strong form, but may not have the game. And those players are Putintseva and Siniakova.
Yeah.
Or do you think they have, or maybe not? Do you think they have any possibility of being able to disrupt Swiatek?
It fits in the category that they can do something, but it will be a bit more depending on Iga's level, probably.
So basically, if Iga making the semi-finals is 100% dependent on the level that she brings.
Yeah, for sure. But I'm still making, putting players like Ostapenko in the category that Iga can, may even need a bit closer to 100% than what she needs to do against Putintseva or Siniakova. That's what I wanted to say.
One other player I forgot that could be a quarterfinal opponent, Danielle Collins.
Yes, and this for sure it will, it can change a lot our thought about this potential matchup as the tournament goes on, because we haven't seen anything on grass by both players, and so
that's true.
And so for me, it's also difficult to imagine also putting the match into the context, and so if Collins, of course, he's able to perform and reaches the quarterfinal and she's playing unbelievable, and then yes, that she has the game. The Iga Collins matchup has been pretty weird, but that we know that at some conditions she is able to travel here.
Yes, absolutely. All right. Well, I guess then let's just say Iga doesn't bring the level and she goes out. Would you say that Vondroushova would be the person in the best position to capitalize? Because I don't know if she could beat Iga on grass. I think she's a good player. I think, again, it's one of those very much more depends on Iga's level if that was to happen. But if let's say the upset happened, Vondroushova is in the best position to capitalize.
Probably yes. I also like her draw. Mm-hmm. So talking about the first week, I know that Krejcikova or Kudermetova, if they play well, can be dangerous opponents. But right now, I'm still kind of liking this draw for Vondrousova, and putting also that question mark on Collins. Probably I would agree. Vondrousova feels like at this point the most probable player.
Alternative. Yeah. But I guess if you and I are filling out our brackets, we're putting Iga in the semis.
I would.
Yeah.
I did already.
Yeah, okay. I haven't done mine yet, but that's what I'm going to be doing. Yeah, I believe in Iga. I like what she's done with the serve. It's going to be that's going to help her a lot on grass. We've seen the progress that she's made. It's going to take a lot to take her down, and it's going to take her not maybe quite being there to do that. I think we're kind of in agreement there.
Yeah, I agree. She's more or less in the same situation she was in 2022, but with more experience, she won't be as gassed as she was, I'm pretty sure. And also for me, last year's campaign, for most people, maybe not so much, but it gave me confidence regarding her. Also, she had chances against Vitolina in that match. And if you consider her, career path, it was a big quality jump in talking about her Wimbledon performance. It gave me confidence. I see no reason. She's a fantastic player. I don't really see reasons why she shouldn't be able to do well. Actually, I have to be honest. Maybe against fellow top 5, top 4 player, then maybe the speech can change just a little bit. Some factors can, but against most of the field, I'm quite confident she can.
Yeah, I think so too. All right. Before we move on from this quarter, something I want to start doing is talk about players who might not necessarily be with a realistic chance of winning the trophy, or as strong a chance of winning the trophy. But those are not the only stories that matter in tennis.
Yeah.
So are there any players from this section that you're like, I don't know if they'll win or they're unlikely to win the title, but I want to see if they can do well or what kind of results they can get?
I mean, honestly, I have to be honest, and I would like, to see Kerber doing well. I don't know if she's going to play Wimbledon one more time. I don't know her plans actually, but I don't know. Considering also the age, and it feels like this could be the last time for her here. So I would actually like her to play well, and for me that would be a good storyline, because she played a couple of good tournaments in Rome and Indian Wells, but she hasn't had a good run. I know that's probably getting round 3, but also Putintseva round 1. But if I have to choose a potential storyline, I would go with this one.
Yeah. Yeah, I would agree with that. Ghosty's putting Putintseva out there in the live chat for this broadcast.
Would be a good story.
Yeah, I think she would be a good story if she pulled something off. Like, she's building for something, it feels like. So that would be cool. I want to put Clara Towson out there because she's the player we've been excited about for so long. She got the 4th round of Roland Garros. Love to see something like that again for her. Just show a little bit more about what she can do. Friend of the show, obviously. Other name I want to throw out there. I don't know how far she's going to get. She may not make it past the first round. She will probably be unlikely to make it past round 2 if she's playing Iga. Fran Jones. I think the story that she has is incredible, and I would love to see her kind of backed by a British crowd really kind of gets a big win at Wimbledon for her. Obviously, if you're not familiar with Fran's story, she only has 3 fingers and a thumb on each hand and 7 toes across her feet. And it's incredible that she's able to play tennis.
Yeah, and if I can go a bit personal, I would also say Anna Bogdan, just because, I have a lot of potential stories to tell. I know her and the team very, very well. So, for me, it would be a good story. For example, imagine, I don't know, shocking the defending champion in round 2, for example. I would have a lot of things to say. So I'm just waiting for for some right moment. So this could be a good one.
And she's coming back, and she's actually not got a bad draw. She could potentially upset Vondrousova.
Yeah, they've played a couple of close matches, actually. But yeah, for me, it's a bit difficult still to imagine, because I'm liking, how Vondrousova is building up also. So for me, it's difficult to not imagine Vondrousova winning the list.
Have we heard much about Vondrousova's injury that she sustained in Berlin?
Yeah, the thing is that she should be absolutely fine. That's what she's saying, and it seemed fortunately more scary also, because in the moment, of course, the movement looked bad in the moment, and also of course our mind went surely to the fact that would have been a bad thing, very bad thing for her to not be able to come at Wimbledon to defend the title, but seems like everything is fine.
One more story, because it's being highlighted in the chat from Kren Boogie, our resident Monfils fan, backing Lauren Davis to do something special. I can see why. Lauren is a player who has had some big wins in her career, but injuries held her back. She would count as that kind of like big story if she made second week. And Osorio is a good first round for her. Haddad Meyer is hot and cold. I can see where Kren's coming from here, and that would be a really cool story to see her in second week if it did happen.
Possible, yeah.
All right, quarter number 2.
Yeah.
Matches you want to highlight? Any first round matches from quarter number 2 that you like the look of?
Well, I would for sure very much interested in Wozniacki against Parks, because Parks got on a big streak after having had a very bad patch. And I also think that usually this kind of matchups with this kind of players facing each other are quite interesting. And Wozniacki, she also had quite a scary fall in Bad Homburg, and she had to retire, but she had a positive week. So this is for sure a match that can, I will be interested in what's going to happen there. So this is one of these. And I actually would say Golubic against Niemeyer, if I have to say, because I just like how both players can do on the grass. And I think this is one of these matches that can be one of these good first rounds on the outside courts, with maybe also some good atmosphere from people with just sitting there and enjoying the tennis. Also, things like this I really like about the slams. So this is also a match I would say.
Yeah. Those are the two matches that I picked out as well for similar reasons. Wozniacki Parks. Parks is on a winning streak at the minute. Wozniacki did pretty well in her Bad Homburg. I'm going to be interested to see how that works out. Interestingly, Damien was very convinced that Parks was going to win that match, which
probably, but I can see why Parks can really get frustrated also against someone like Wozniacki. So I don't know. It will be to watch. I'm not so sure. Probably I'm slightly leaning towards Parks, but I'm not 100% sure. Let's say like this. I can see why she can be really frustrated.
I could see Wozniacki frustrating her as well with her defense, and the return. If she can get if she can get anything Parks' serve. Also depends on how Parks is serving, but she is looking very, very good at the minute. I also like your pick for Golubic Niemeyer. I might go and check that one out because I am at Wimbledon on Tuesday. That's when they're playing. For me, that's like the match. Like if you are on the grounds of Wimbledon, go watch that, because two Wimbledon quarterfinalists who play a grass game very differently. I think that will be a lot of fun, a lot of great court craft. Vasilika in the chat is highlighting Lynette Svitolina as a potentially interesting match. I think I have to, or Vasilia, I think I have to agree. I think that could be interesting.
Well, both players kind of need wins. So, for both, losing round one here would be, especially for Svitolina, who was semi-finalist last year, so lots of points to defend, and not a great 2024 season. So, yes, storyline is also very good. So, yeah, I agree.
Okay. I'm not going to go into a load of honorable mentions, but yeah, I would agree with that. I mean, see, we've got some opportunities there, but like my honorable mentions for a couple of them are others. Katie Bolter and Tatiana Maria, just because obviously they're two decent names. I'm intrigued by Aisling Kruger against Jessica Pegula.
Yeah,
that has the potential, I think. I don't know what our American viewers would think about that, but I do think Kruger could irritate Pegula. I would mark Pegula as the favorite, but that could be a good match, or even an upset.
Yeah, because I see Pegula, struggling to get match pace, the match pace she likes against someone like Kruger. So yeah, there is the potential. Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, and then just because I like watching her play, Leylah Fernandez against Lucia Bronzetti, and obviously that might be a match that you've marked out as well as a man who is now an expert on Italian tennis.
Yeah, sure. Think Fernandez should be a pretty much favorite this time, considering also how she's adapting well this year to the grass. But yeah, sure.
Yeah, obviously Eastbourne finalist Fernandez, right?
Yes, exactly.
BP, which was a huge result for her.
Yeah.
So that was a story for me. I do like how Fernandez is playing on grass right now, which is making me very happy because I enjoy watching her play. All right, well, let's talk about the big picture for this section. Top seed in the section is Elena Rybakina. She didn't play Eastbourne. She seems very happy to practice at Wimbledon. Who do you see being any potential threats to her against making the semi-finals? Or do you think she's going to be too strong?
I see threats, actually. This is a very interesting. This is a very interesting section of the draw for me. Even if I think Rybakina is probably among the top seeds, also strong of her title that she won in 2022. He's probably the one with also the most grass court pedigree. So probably I also put her in my, ideal power ranking before the draw. But it's a very interesting quarterfinal, actually.
Yeah, you and I both put her as our number one in our power rankings.
So I would like, I may say, of course, Pegula, Jabeur, all these players, but I actually say Leila Fernandez because
Okay.
in a quarter of the draw with such also big names, talking about their hopes in Wimbledon, I'm trying to look in a bit smaller way in the smallest section, and I can see why Fernandez can produce this game that can trouble Rybakina. I don't know if Rybakina is going to lose at some point in this quarter, but still I think Fernandez can bring some tactical things that can disrupt Rybakina's game a little bit. I don't know if it will be enough, but I can see how it can happen.
Yeah, I can too, because she's got the ability to get low over ground, counter punch, use Rybakina's pace against her. Yeah, I could see that happening if she's feeling confident. Depends on how she is post that Eastbourne loss, but and Fernandez does have a potentially tricky path because she's got Brazetti, who isn't bad. Wozniacki or Parks round 2 is not going to be easy, but I could see that happening with Rybakina. Same, and obviously, this is a packed section. This is like the most tight, tough section because you've got Pegula and Jabeur in there, who are currently outside the main outsider chances to make a final. I would say. Kalinskaya is in there as well. I like her chances of.
Same actually. Same actually. That's why I actually thought that Pegula, Jabeur, and Kalinskaya were three of maybe even the three most dangerous players outside the top four. Looking at form and things, they all got in the same quarter, so it's really interesting. I will be locked in to watch this quarter actually.
And someone in the chat's thrown another name out there who is in Rybakina's section, Samsonova, who is a bit of kryptonite for Rybakina.
Samsonova, Samsonova is also one of these players that, I mean, she can always play so well. She cannot, but it's also a very dangerous player, that's for sure. Absolutely.
Rybakina's head-to-head with Samsonova is not great for
Not
Elena.
great, yes.
It does affect a little bit on Samsonova's form, obviously, but looking at who she's got in her section, if Samsonova plays well, she should get through. I think that the key thing is what would happen if she played Kalinskaya in that round 3. Yeah.
Can I say also that, in my opinion, I know that Kenin has the pedigree, but in my opinion, for what I also say that probably Rybakina, talking about the stacked quarterfinal, also the first round is not that easy. I still think Rybakina is going to win, but Rusa is one of these players I actually really like watching. I also remember her playing against Goff in 2022. Let's see what happens, but yeah, I don't know. There are a lot of potentially dangerous players, I have to say.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. We did get this question earlier at the beginning of the stream, and we've got to her section now. How much of a factor do you think Katie Bolt is going to be in this section?
Can be a factor. I really like Pegula on the grass. I really liked watching her in Berlin. And as I also write on my social media more than once, I really, started getting pumped about her. But Bolter has the chance to win, for example, a potential match against her. And I don't know. It will be interesting for me to watch Bolter because also the pressure is also going to be very high. Last year, she also was coming from a grass court title in Nottingham, as it happened this year. But the also the pedigree she has earned as a player, having won also outside of the English grass and having got up in the ranking. I think she should also have some pressure from, the English. You can tell more than me for sure, but I can imagine that the pressure will be on her shoulders a little bit more than it's ever been, probably.
Definitely more than it's ever been. I think there is one thing that Katie Bolter does have in her favour, and that is a lot of the pressure will be deflected by another British player in the draw. A lot, because and who we will get to, but Emma Raducanu will get more attention, and that might help Bolter a little bit. That being said, she will get highlighted a lot as the seeded player. She will be mentioned a fair bit, and she doesn't have an easy draw. Tatiana Maria is a tricky player on grass. If she gets Harriet Dart in round 2, they had a blockbuster in Nottingham, and then Pegula in round 3, who she has beaten earlier this year. I think Bolter has looked really good on grass. Nottingham and Eastbourne showed that. I think only the wind really disrupted Bolter there. She could be a factor. I don't know how many top players she can beat consecutively. That's probably the big thing with her. And let's say she gets the quarterfinals, that somehow she gets through this insane section that, like, it would be Pegula, like she comes through the section
for me,
Pegula
even if
and Jabeur in it, suddenly she's playing Rybakina.
Yeah, I agree with you. But if you're talking about being a factor, for me, even beating or even also challenging in a very, very close way a player like Pegula is being a factor for me.
Yeah, that's fair.
If she manages to get that upset, even if she doesn't produce another one, she still has been a factor because she has, knocked out one of the biggest players in the draw. So, and I think, I don't know, at least if I'm looking about this Bolter Pegula section, I can see this potentially happening, even if Pegula would be the favorite in this clash, if it happens.
All right. We've mentioned 6 players as challengers to Elena Rybakina. Jessica Pegula, Ons Jabeur, Anna Kanenskaya, Katie Bolter, Lubina Samsonova, and Leylah Fernandez. How, I guess, again, the bracket question. Despite all that, are we still penciling Elena Rybakina into the semi-finals? Or are we looking at this is going to be too tough and it's going to be someone else? And if so, who?
I made my bracket, so I have my answer after doing it match by match. But, I can see why maybe very few people have made this choice. And I have Kalinskaya in the semi-final. Actually. But if I have to make another name, I would go with Pegula. I'm even if I said all this for Rybakina, but I'm not really backing her. Actually, my level of confidence has went down a little bit
after the draw came out.
Yeah,
because I think both of us put her number 1 despite
not because she's not able to beat these players back to back. I mean, she is able, of course, but I can see her being, vulnerable in a tough day, and probably, I have Fernandez putting the upset actually in my bracket, and this made a big difference because if then she's going to play Kalinskaya, probably Rybakina wins that one in terms of the matchup, and probably also the same about Jabeur, probably, even if Jabeur beat her last year, but I'm still backing Rybakina if they face each other. So I mean, I got to this name because I made this choice. But if I make Rybakina beating Fernandez, and then probably I think it's going to be either her or Pegula.
Yeah, and that quarterfinal could be critical. Because for me, with Kalinskaya, I'm not saying she's not capable of it, but historically, the person who loses Berlin generally doesn't have a great Wimbledon. That's the big thing that's holding me back. And I tend to look at these kind of historical patterns.
Yeah,
is in a good position where like the Berlin champions made at least fourth round. So she's in quite a strong position. And I don't know whether you agree with me on this or not. I haven't really spoken to him. My belief is that Elena Rybakina's base game on grass is good enough that she wins pretty much every match she plays on the surface, even if it's tough. And you have to have a very, very good day, as Jabeur did last year, or Vekic did in Berlin last year, to actually beat her on the surface. So I think the reason why this section is dangerous for her is there are lots of players who do have the level to have a very, very good day and take down Rybakina. But I would still put Rybakina in the semis because my faith in her on grass is pretty strong.
Yeah, sure. I agree. I mean, when I also make, for example, my bracket, I made all these choices, and then all these choices have consequences, you know. That's also why then you end up maybe having some name. But for sure, I agree with you. For sure, that's going to it's going to take a very, very, very good day and performance, because we probably forgot how well Jabeur played last year in quarters and in the semi-final. Even if in Berlin she said that last year she reached the final without playing well, but I was disagreeing with her. Yeah, for sure. I still agree with you on this. So yeah, I mean, there are more reasonable things to say.
I will say that Fernandez is also on the list of people I believe who has the level to have a very, very good day to disrupt. I know Schwarner in the chat, or someone in the chat, doesn't believe that. Yeah, Schwarner doesn't believe that Layla has the capability to do it with Rybakina on a good day. But hey, we have different opinions on the subject. All right, before we wrap up quarter two, what stories are you looking for from people who may not necessarily be title contenders?
Here, I would say, actually, I mean, in this quarter one, it's very easy to say, and I think that for sure, Ons Jabeur is always a good pick, especially at Wimbledon, for a big story, because, you know, even if it looks more difficult than in the previous years, and probably especially after looking at the draw, but of course she would be a fantastic storyline after having lost the previous two finals, and what we have also heard when there's been the documentary about her and all these things coming up together. But for me, I would kind of stay on the top players here, and I would say that actually if Pegula, for example, is able to reach her maiden slam semi-final, also considering her, you know, she's not a youngster anymore, and she's already lost 6 times in this. You know, I also remember a title from newspaper last year when she got pretty polemic on the social, when it was family dynamics can't buy these kind of things, talking about her loss against Vondrousova. And so, you know, for me, it would be kind of a revenge story for her. All these things together, I would like also to see it.
Yeah, seeing on Jabeur, look, I don't think there's anyone who wouldn't want to see Jabeur lifting a Wimbledon trophy. That would be quite cool. And there's going to be a lot of people rooting for her. A lot of the people I know who don't follow tennis closely know Jabeur. Like she's one of the few tennis players they know, and they're going to want to see her do well. I think she's going to have a lot of backing, and I think it'd make a lot of us feel very good if she did win. So yeah, I 100% that's a story to keep an eye on, like Jabeur's progress. That being said, I'm going to throw 2 names out of players who I want to kind of highlight. Alicia Parks, I'm interested to see how she does. If she's got her mojo back, what's she going to be like on grass? She could be very dangerous. The other name I'm going to throw out is Robin Montgomery, who has actually had quite a good grass court season, got through qualifying pretty well. I think she's favourite against Gadecki. And if she plays Jabeur, I'm putting Jabeur on upset alert. I think Montgomery is developing into a player who is becoming a thorn in the side of the top players already, even though she's 19. Now, Jabeur on grass is a very different scenario. I know she kind of irritated her on clay. Grass might be a step up. I don't know. But Montgomery, for me, would be someone I want to keep an eye on and see how she does as she builds her career.
Yeah, I know this pretty well, because actually I don't know why, but my timeline goes crazy every time Montgomery wins any tennis match. So yeah.
Yeah. All right. Should we move on to quarter 3?
Yeah, let's go.
Let's go to quarter 3. This might be a long one, guys. Hang in there. All right. Fortunately, it was probably somewhat easier from this quarter to pick out first round matches of interest. I've identified 3. I think you probably have identified the same 3.
Yeah. But I've got another one, actually. Probably I'm starting with this, since I think there are 3 that are pretty clear for everybody, and we will mention, of course. But I will start with Maria Sakkari's opening round, because she's on a losing streak. She's also done, not exactly well in majors lately. So, of course, she's still a top 10 seed, even if not top 8. And so, I really like the potential story of this match. And I think it's a match where a lot of things can happen, actually. So I outside those 3 we are about to mention, I think that I would go for this one.
Yeah, okay. I was debating whether or not to highlight this one, because you're right, Sakkari's going to be an upset alert every match she plays on grass. Even if she wins against Kessler, she's going to be in trouble against Rus or Yuan, I would say.
She can, even if
third round. I don't think
probably. Yeah,
I don't see her going past third round with the people she could potentially play from that section. So I don't think she's super confident on grass. She said before she's not a huge fan of it. Yeah, I think if you are looking for your top 10 seed upset alert, it's right there. I guess the question of this match is going to be, does McCartney Kessler have what it takes to do it? I don't see why not.
But same actually. I mean, also considering all what we have said about Sakkari on grass and in generally lately, her form in the last couple of months has not been great, and her record of slams, maybe it also is a bit in her head, actually. So she's lost round 1 at Wimbledon last year. She's lost round 1 also at the last slam she played at the French Open. So, I kind of interested in this story, see how this match develops. Then I think we can, I don't know if you have another match or we go straight to those 3. I think
let's go for I'm interested to see, because I'm assuming we've made the same choices about 3. So yeah, I take it away, Mario.
I think first of all we're going to mention Alexandrova against Raducanu, and then I'm pretty sure we're going to go with Mukova against Badosa.
Yeah, same snap.
And then we have 2 of the 2 youngest players in the draw clashing against each other, which are Mira Andreeva and Brenda Fruvirtova.
Yes, 3 for 3.
And they are the 2 youngest players also, if we consider also the men's. So they are the 2 youngest players involved in Wimbledon, talking about, of course, excluding the junior. And so I think these 3 matches are very, very, very interesting for obvious reasons.
Yes, I would agree. But for very different reasons. Like Brenda against Mira is going to be a match for the future, right? They could play each other 20 times. They could be playing each other for the next 20 years. Badosa Mukova is the comeback queens battle. Both are great fighters. That could go. I could see that going 3.
Same.
And then Alexandrova Raducanu, that one I think could end up being the match of the day, because I genuinely don't know which way that one's going to go. The others I have an inkling, but Alexandrova Raducanu, I keep going back and forth on the outcome of that match.
Yeah, actually, you know why? Because the draw is kind of favorable.
Yes.
For the winner of this match. The
winner of this, I think, is making quarterfinals.
The match is interesting because they are 2 great grass court players, and it's interesting, even if it's, not talking about the draw, but for me, the draw being open makes it even more interesting because, for the winner, the chance for sure will be there.
Yes, I think they will have a favourable matchup with anyone else they play after that point. And the thing is with this match, I want to talk about this match specifically for a little bit because obviously it's happening tomorrow. We will be covering it tomorrow on the channel. Here's the thing. Alexandrova has the game to overwhelm Raducanu. Raducanu has the crowd support and the confidence and the counter-punching ability. I would honestly say, and Alexandrova's form on grass this year has not been as good as previous years. So for me, that kind of evens it out, where it's just like Alexandrova has the game, but I don't know whether it's going to switch on. Raducanu has the backing, but obviously we know that she's kind of coming off a big week in Eastbourne when she can be a bit up and down. So yeah, it's a fascinating dynamic, and I'm looking forward to seeing how this one plays out.
Yeah, I definitely agree with what you said, and that's also why it's difficult to predict because there are so many factors that can favor a player or the other. And yeah, I agree that Alexandrova on grass has, probably the game to make it very, very difficult for Raducanu for sure. But at the same time, I also think the opposite. If Alexandrova is even at 5% below 100 because of the counter-punching abilities you have said, Raducanu's ability to change his direction so well at the ball, and so making she has also this ability to defend without losing too much court, talking about her position compared to the baseline. And so, I see in both games actually why things can very be complicated for the others. Probably if Alexandrova was coming in here, best grass court form, probably I would have seen her as the favorite. But, talking about their state and their games actually where they are right now, it's really difficult for me. And also I agree with Raducanu being an amazing returner. And this can be also a good factor. She knows how to move on the grass. It will be a great match. I really hope they both bring their A level because it can be a very, very good match.
Yeah, I think so too. I think the centre court crowd will be very happy with watching that after seeing a routine Alcaraz win. Do you want to comment on? I want to kind of comment on the other two matches. Like I think I've already said what I think would be what makes the match between Badosa and Mukova interesting. What makes the match between Andreeva and Kvitova interesting. How do you see those kind of playing out, those two matches?
Okay, I would say that for me, Mukova's peak game should be able to beat Badosa's peak game, especially on this surface. But of course, it's very early to say which game Mukova is going to play. In Eastbourne, we saw a good version of Mukova, but we still haven't seen 10, 15 matches of her. So we saw about the precaution that she took by withdrawing. So there's for sure still a question mark around her level. Badosa showed us good things in Bad Homburg last week. We know how she's battling with her back basically on a daily basis. And so, of course, the storyline is big for both players in this tournament. But I still think that we'll see probably Mukova bringing a bit more of her game and Badosa trying to fight her way into the match. With this but also she's an incredible fighter, and Mukova is also an incredible fighter for sure. But I think, like, especially on a surface like grass, which can really favor also variety, and Mukova is also a very good serve. And I think, like, if I have to predict how this is going to play out, it can be very close, but probably Mukova is a bit more about bringing the game but also staying there and making her presence heavy on the court.
Yeah, I agree. I think I agree with you. Everything you just said there. I don't think I need to add anything. I think Mukova's variety, if she could play through the pain in her wrist, she should be able to deal with it. I think Badosa will make her life difficult. She is a very determined player. She is a fighter. She's a great defender. She's got some big strikes where she needs them. Yeah, it's going to come down to how these things go. But yeah, I guess
the other one, will be, I don't know if you agree with me, but will be very, very interesting also from a tactical point of view, because both players, they are very young and they are not, this, it's not the powerful game that's stuck in your head when you watch both of them. So it's also, should be also a match full of variety. And, Andreeva has gained a lot of experience. So she, seems laughable to say for a 17-year-old, but she has the experience probably on her side more than Fruvirtova. But, also the big motivation between these very young players. Fruvirtova has also beat Andreeva in the past. And so it will be very interesting for me also. Probably a bit less talking about the winner of the match, because they still have so much time, ahead of them, and but really how it plays out from a tactical point of view, all the variety that they can bring on the court, and how this will play out on the grass also when they play each other.
Yes, I think it's going to be fascinating. I do give Andreeva the edge based on experience, but Brenda has a point to prove. So, all right, let's talk about the big picture of the section. And I think one first round match that we haven't mentioned yet, that we are going to be keeping an eye on after Sabalenka's recent comments, is her first round match against Emina Bektas, a match that she would be heavily favored to win normally. Bektas has got a couple of grass court wins one or two grass court wins this season. So it's just unfortunate. It would have been an unfortunate first round for Bektas. My personal instinct is that Sabalenka is playing up the issue to try and lower expectations and help her get through the draw easier. But I want to ask you how you think she's, what her standing is in this section, and whether you see any particular threats to her right now, and if there's anyone who's now become a threat if this shoulder is a legitimate issue.
I'm also not underestimating the fact that she's not also very used to deal with injuries. So probably also from a psychological point of view, having some pain, may also have caused her, to release these quotes, how she talked with the press. A bit different that, for example, the Djokovic, someone like Djokovic, even if not 100%, I'm pretty sure will never tell you, I'm uncertain, I'm not 100% ready to play. If he does, it's because he also says that he's 100% ready. Sabalenka, maybe it's a bit different situation, but I'm also trying to stay positive about her physical state, meaning that maybe it's not that heavy, and if it's there, maybe she can also play herself into the draw and maybe get better and better from that point of view. Even if we know that, for example, a potential second round against Vekic at this point could be, more interesting than it could have been, considering their, matchup story. And Vekic is also a great grass court player. And so if Sabalenka, maybe tomorrow, maybe she can win, even if she's not 100% ready, but probably against Vekic, she has to, bring up her level for sure. So it's not like the draw has been so kind from that point of view. It's not a bad draw overall, but from that point of view, she has a round 2 match that can be, if it happens, that can be, very, very dangerous. So for sure, tomorrow will be interesting to keep an eye on her and see, her state. Still, if I have to, for me, big factor can be Emma Raducanu if she wins her first round match. If I have to put a name out there.
Interesting. So you think if Emma Raducanu played Sabalenka in the quarters, there's an opportunity there for Raducanu?
I probably thinking. I know that if Sabalenka reaches the quarterfinal, then we have a different view of Sabalenka than what we have now. But I can see also how in that environment, imagine the center court, imagine the crowd, imagine, also Raducanu full of confidence after having got 4 wins. And then I will watch the match with interest, actually.
And she would have beaten a big hitter in Alexandrova already.
Yes, also.
So got some useful intel there on the same court. So that's true. I want to identify another threat to Sabalenka in the early stages. Round 3, Diana Yastremska.
Yeah.
Someone else she struggled with before.
Yeah, I can see that happening. Yeah. And the draw is not even that bad for Yastremska, actually. So
yeah. No, she's not. I think you would back her against Podoroska on grass easily.
Yeah.
And against Sarenko and Gracheva.
I would. Then, yeah. I mean, it can happen otherwise, but I would.
Yeah, and it's like suddenly Sabalenka's, if the shoulder problem is a significant problem, she's playing she could have to get through Vekic and Yastremska, 2 people who bothered her before.
Yeah, for sure. That's why also will be very interesting to see her match. That's for sure.
Yeah. I would say other danger players you could see coming through this section. Andreeva. I still have a little bit of belief in Andreeva, hence why she's on my power ranking. Mukova as well.
Yes. Mukova, yes.
And maybe the Eastbourne champion, Kasatkina.
I haven't mentioned there when you talked about potential threat for Sabalenka, because I think she's not a threat to Sabalenka. I also watched the match in Berlin. I mean, that's also, Sabalenka wasn't injured, and we don't know how she is right now, but I don't think Kasatkina has what it takes to beat Sabalenka.
Yeah, so I would say this is where I would put her in. I would put Kasatkina in the similar category to Vondrushova in Iga section. Like Vondrushova is the one who is most likely to pick up the pieces if there's an early loss for Swiatek. I don't think that and Kasatkina similarly would be in a decent position to capitalize. Having said that, she is in a section with some more players who have a bit better form, like Andreeva.
Yes, exactly.
And you've also got Raducanu in there as well, or Alexandrova.
But still, considering also how bad, her matchup with Sabalenka is, if Sabalenka goes out, then Kasatkina's chances goes up, even if there are other dangerous players.
So I guess then, based on that, how confident are you that Sabalenka is making it to the semi-finals? Do you have her in there in your bracket?
I actually did my bracket again after hearing from her, because I had her taking revenge of the clay losses against Iga in the final. That's what I ended up having. But I don't know. I also think that probably she's playing the injury probably a bit up, but still my confidence level got a bit down, and I mean, it's still not impossible to see her in the semis, of course, because also talking, she has tricky matchups at the beginning, but I don't know, also Andreeva has beaten her at the French Open, but there's been, some certain circumstances also. So, of course, great effort from Andreeva, but still I don't really know if Sabalenka is fit. And then, and for sure, Mukova, if she's fit, can win the match. I still want, I still pick there to reach the semis, actually. I have to say. But I made, a different choice in the semifinal when we'll
get there.
We'll talk later.
Okay, so what I think kind of your summary there would be, she could be in trouble, she could struggle to make it, but it's similar to the it very much depends on the level of the other players involved. A bit like the eager section, except a bit like the eager section. Like, it's going to depend on the other level of the others involved, but maybe less dependent on Sabalenka's level that she brings.
Yeah, that's what I think.
That's a good summary. All right. Yeah, I'm kind of on the same, but I am putting Sabalenka through on the whole. I do trust her to get through this draw on the whole, though I do think that, would I be surprised if she didn't make it based on the fact that Vekic and Yastremska are in there? No, I wouldn't be surprised if they upset her. Okay, let's do stories from this section. What stories are you keeping an eye on for sort of the not expected title contenders? Although you did cheat a little bit with Onshibet.
I have for sure a big one that I think would be also pretty common, which is Mukova.
Yes.
For what, actually also, but those, the situation is kind of similar, even if their injuries have been pretty different. And I know that for some British player, also Raducanu for sure doing well at Wimbledon would be a big story. But if I have to choose another one for me, also seeing, for example, a big one can be if Vekic can have a good run at a slam. She is a great grasscourt player. She is one of these players that sometimes before a slam, you're like, probably this is Vekic's time, to do a deep run. And at times she hasn't really always lived up to these expectations that at times we got around here.
Yeah, I was thinking that obviously she lost the final in Bad Homburg. Another WTA 500 final loss. She's been so close and yet so far with these, and that loss yesterday probably fits in a very similar category.
And actually, Zhang, if she's suddenly able to win this first round match, we know that in singles she's went on a disastrous. I cannot even say period because it's been so long. And so her getting a win finally and doing so at Wimbledon against someone, very good as Kasatkina would be a great story, even if I don't know how realistic it is.
Yeah, but hey, look, we're not necessarily going for realism here. This is the type where we don't have to be. I mean, for me, I would say Townsend is always a story to see how she's doing. And I'm kind of interested in seeing how Stara Dobtseva does the qualifier. Yeah. She had a very, very good qualifying through there. So, but I do agree with you, like, Mukova is probably the one we're all keeping on, hoping that she's going to do well. Before we wrap up on this section, Kasatkina's in this section. Thoughts on her Eastbourne title run?
I mean, she played actually very well, and she's been able to adapt well also in the day against Raducanu so well to the winning conditions. She has this game, which is, is a game actually suitable for all surfaces, in my opinion. even if I know that she's probably this player that, at least right now with the players we have right now, struggles to score upsets, because she's done actually when she first reached the top 10. I remember that she was a player which was causing lots of upsets, but right now she's not anymore. And also, for the way she came back also against Jasmine Paolini, was a very tough match, that one. And so it's been overall a very, very good run. Still, we haven't seen that top win that we know Kasatkina right now is struggling to get. For example, if she manages to beat, I don't know, Sabalenka, something like that. But still, after having also lost a lot of 500 final against players which are actually all dangerous in some way, even if not the top 3-4 picks on the grass, but still we have seen how Paolini, for example, can still be a dangerous player to face, and Fernandez, we spoke about her before, for Rybakina's quarter. So it's been a very, very good run, and makes me, I don't want to say confident, but because we know that he's a player that also some things maybe has to happen at the draw or something like this, but also got a 500 title on all surfaces. She's proving herself, even if she's not at the top 3-4 players you want to see to win, when you manages to think about the major contenders.
Yeah, she's forming a very good career. We can definitely say that. And this week showed that. I'm looking forward to watching the What the Vlog episode with finally, they're actually going to cover her winning a title, which I think is going to be the first time that's happened.
Yeah.
So that's going to be nice.
I think it's actually already out.
Yeah, it's out. I need to catch it. I'm going to be honest, Mario. I've been a social media black hole for 2 days.
For sure, you did right, actually.
Yeah, I'm not. I'm a little behind on the times, but yeah, I'm looking forward to it. And I was impressed by the way she came through and sort of avenged the defeat last year that she suffered to Keys. I'm pretty sure there was going to be a rematch of the final this year, and only Fernandez saying stopped it, really.
Yeah.
Right. We've been going for an hour and 20 minutes, but we've got one more quarter of this draw.
Yeah, sure. Let's do it.
Let's do this. Come on, we can do this. I'm loving it, though. I'm loving the detail here. So, first round matches that are catching your eye from this quarter of the draw. I think there's one really obvious one, and one that also I wouldn't be surprised if you mentioned.
I actually am going to start with the one that I personally prefer.
Okay.
And is Osaka against Paris. Because
that's on my list too.
Because I'm really, really interested in see what Paris can bring on the court to bother Osaka, because I think she has something to offer that can bother Osaka. Especially on a surface like the grass. She's done well on the grass, and I think it can turn out as an interesting one. And I would mention, of course, Pliskova against Schneider, because Schneider is in big form, Pliskova not so much, but still she's been a Wimbledon finalist. She can do well on the grass. We know it. So, it can be an interesting one. Then we have also a clash, between Azarenka and Stevens. The names are big. And so, they are actually back to back in the draw.
Yeah, I love
because
that
only one of these players will reach the round 4. So, this will be, these 3 matches, of course, are all interesting. But if I have to choose one, I'm choosing Osaka against Paris.
Yeah, I like Osaka versus Parry, not just because I like watching Diane Parry play, because single-handed backhand, huge topspins, forehand, love it. Like the best of Nadal and Federer. But again, I see what you're saying as well. Like those two on grass, is going to be fascinating. And I think they've both got some nice grass court form going into this. I am also expecting that to be competitive. So I've highlighted that as well. Pliskova Schneider. Schneider is the Bad Homburg champion. Pliskova's strong on grass. I'm just to see whether Schneider has momentum from Bad Homburg or whether she's going to run out of gas.
There's an historical pattern because for sure I remember Kerber. She reached the semis after winning Bad Homburg in 2021.
Garcia fourth round and Siniakova second round.
Okay, there's not a clear pattern, let's say, but
at least we the first round match.
Yeah, exactly. That's right.
And I would have Schneider going deep in this tournament. I think I have the favorite to beat Pliskova, but I think Azarenka beats Stevens, although Stevens will make it a fight. And that's another match. And like that is a reason why it's a match between two Grand Slam champions is always going to be one to highlight.
Yeah, sure.
I would put Azarenka as the favorite over Schneider. Or Schneider.
Probably same. We talked about kind of liking the way Azarenka is being consistent this year. And so, yeah, I think she should have a decent campaign. That's my prediction for Azarenka.
Yeah, I think she will too. And I think I have to highlight her as a danger player in this draw to Goff.
She can be dangerous for Goff. She can be dangerous, yeah. It will depend. As for Coco, I don't know if you agree with me on this, but I'm like, a lot will depend on the level she can bring with her serve.
Yes,
I think that the forehand on grass can be exposed more than on other surfaces, also because of the low bounces. Goff's forehand, but if she serves well, she can then close the gap, that she maybe can have on grass a little bit compared to the other surfaces. Because, in Berlin, she served well, actually. Then we'll see how she's going to do at Wimbledon.
And she's definitely building confidence, right? Rome and Roland Garros are really good for her. Then Berlin, the serve seems to have started to click. So I don't see any reason why it wouldn't. But obviously, if it does go off at any point, she might be in trouble against someone like an Azarenka, who's a very good returner.
Yeah.
It's interesting, because Goff doesn't have anyone in her section like the other three who are historical kryptonite for her. But she's also the one that can be the most easily upset by almost out of the four.
Yeah, I tend to agree. And also I would, was also highlighting how there's also, we've talked about the Azarenka Goff section, but also in the Paolini Keys section can also be very, very interesting because, for example, Andreescu is the favorite, but can be an interesting match. The match between Minen and Watson on grass is a match that you would want to watch. For me, at least I would want to watch it.
I've highlighted that as like that's going to be really evenly matched between those two. I can't call it.
Yeah, same actually. And Paulini Eastbourne run, I don't think she will make that far, but for sure made me confident that she still will be, she can be a factor, meaning that she will be difficult to beat. But there's also someone like Noskova who can play very well for sure. So all this just to say that my pick has been Keys.
Keys to get to the semis?
No, the quarterfinal. Sorry, I was talking just about the Paolini Keys section. Sorry.
Keys is my quarterfinalist as well, and I am also putting her on my list of people who I could see upsetting Goff. Like she's that
would have been my pick when you were about to ask me.
Okay, you think that's how it's going to play out? You think Keys is going to be in the semis?
I don't think so. I still have Goff in the semis, but I have to answer to a player that can be very dangerous to Goff, and I think Keys, if she's on a run, can be very dangerous to Goff. That's what I think. So,
very much agree with that. I mean, I actually have a little bit more faith in Paolini now after Eastbourne, but I think there's also a sense against Keys, maybe she might be at a disadvantage if that was who she played in the fourth round. But she like SST in round one could be tough, depends on how SST is playing. Minna Watson could be an interesting match, could be a bit of a battle. She doesn't have
I would expect it to be a battle, actually. Even if probably I still see her going through.
She doesn't have an easy draw by any means, but I don't see it as implausible that she makes it quite far.
No, I think that for her, also considering her former, I was about to say Wimbledon campaigns, but it's round one losses against Kvitova actually for 2 years in a row. Getting a couple of wins will still be, for me, positives to take actually. If I'm flying down, but already
not a bad loss at Wimbledon either.
Yeah.
If you're going to lose to anyone, lose to a two-time Wimbledon champion.
Yeah. Sure.
Okay, so we're kind of on the same page. Yeah, I kind of on balance have Goff getting through, but it does have her. It does depend a lot on her, as you say, like what kind of level she brings and what the others can do. There is a really strong part of me that think that like would be backing Azarenka to make semis. It like a little bit.
With me, in Italy we say the door is already open. For me, whenever I see Azarenka playing quite well, I start backing her to have some deep rounds here and there, wherever she plays.
Yeah,
because a bit, I have to say, because I'm really following her, like because I also like watching her a lot. And I also like her mentality, how she approaches the challenges, and she has also the presence, even if she's not at the top of the game, at the very top, because she's still at the top, let's say, but not top 5 player anymore. She still has that presence, when you play against her. You have to beat her. If you face Azarenka on center court at Wimbledon in a round 4 match, she's still Azarenka, so won't be an easy one if it makes it for Goff. But still there is a part of me also that tells me go with Goff.
Yeah, you kind of have to go with Goff, who just knows how to get the win, right? She just does. She like most of the time she just gets the win.
Yeah, also that's also, if I have to pick a player that's not playing well but has to win me the match, I would be confident in picking Goff. She's really able to go through the challenges that the match brings up to her.
All right, for the last time, story that you want to identify who isn't necessarily a title contender from this section.
For me, actually, a very good story would be if Heather Watson goes on a good run.
We're backing a Brit here.
Would be a very good story, actually, I have to say. And I don't know, Danilovic is a player I'm really liking it to watch and follow. Even if she already had her moment at the French Open, kind of, but for me, always going to be a good pick if I have to mention a good story. She's also a lucky loser. I don't know. I'm going to probably one of these two players, but I'm leaning more towards Heather Watson. She's a player that, since I remember her playing against Serena Williams back in the years, it was an amazing match. And I think she's able to produce that Wimbledon magic, when the home player that plays well in Wimbledon, and even if the form is regarding, it doesn't even matter. She's able to play well.
Heather Watson, maybe producing a little bit of Wimbledon magic. I think a lot of people would be very much up for seeing that happen. I didn't actually write her down, but actually that's a really, really good story that you've identified. So yeah, worth it. This one, I mean, I'm kind of interested in seeing how Sinai Cartel does, the qualifier. I don't know if she's going to get that far, but I'm interested to see if she can get a match win. the story I'm kind of interested in is Linda Noskova.
In the
What can
Moscow.
she
Good
produce?
one.
Is she gonna produce the tennis that we know exists inside of her, but kind of seems to come out in fits and starts? Because this grass court season, she had some opportunities and didn't really take them. I'm interested to see what she brings when she gets to the stage at Wimbledon, because she is a very exciting young talent, and has a lot of potential. And yeah, let's see. I think a second round against Andreescu or Christian would be tough, and that's why we're going to see what she's made of.
Yeah.
All right. So your bracket you have in the semi-finals. Hey, Jake, you might have to watch this one back, by the way. We've been going for an hour and a half, but we're about to wrap up. Okay. So your bracket is Swiatek against Kalinskaya.
Yeah.
And Sabalenka against Goff.
Yeah.
With Swiatek versus Goff in the final.
Yeah, I changed my pick. Initially I had Sabalenka and Iga, with actually Sabalenka winning the final. That was my original idea. I still probably I know that if she makes to the semis, Sabalenka, this basically will mean that she's fine. But still, I don't know. It just made me a little bit less confident, and I was like, okay, also Goff, it's an uncomfortable matchup for Sabalenka. Even in the matches that she won, even the Australian Open semi-final could have been very different than what it's been. So yeah, then in the end I changed my mind and I went this way.
We're going this way, okay. And I'm assuming you have Swiatek beating Goff in the title match.
Actually, yes.
Wow.
Yeah. It's the first time I watch a generation of player growing. So I don't want to consider, for example, the big three, Serena Williams, and just consider the players, born in the new, let's say the new millennium, things like that. I've never had such high consideration talking about the value of a player as much as in Iga Swiatek. So for me, nothing will ever be surprising for me. Nothing.
I wouldn't be surprised if she won. I think it would be an epic result if she did. Would give her some crazy momentum for the Olympics. Yeah, I think if the draw plays out as we think, if Rybakina and Sabalenka are vulnerable, if Swiatek's potential banana skins fall away, as I think they will, that is a realistic prospect that Iga Swiatek could end up lifting a Wimbledon title unexpectedly for John, maybe. Yeah, I think, and that would be, I think that would basically cement her. Well, I think she already is an all-time great, but she would have conquered all three surfaces by that point.
Yeah, let's say that for me, she already is, but let's say that maybe with this title, let's say that the discussion can be closed forever.
Yes, I think that's a good way of phrasing it, because you get that clay specialist moniker off the back, right?
Absolutely, you get all this, her throne, her reign as the number one. It's becoming pretty long. You also get a US Open title, a Wimbledon title. Imagine she doesn't do anything more in her career, which is also unlikely, but imagine like that. It's a fantastic resume. What I mean, that's my idea.
Yeah. Yeah, I went with head over heart on this one, because what you've gone with is my heart pick. Obviously.
Okay.
My head pick is I have the top four all making semis, but I have an Elena Arena final.
Okay.
I think Elena Iga on grass, like Elena, you would imagine on paper being the favorite. And then what happens in the final? For me, in a head-to-head, yes, Sabalenka's beaten Arena more, but she has to work harder.
Yeah.
Sabalenka has to work harder to beat Rybakina than Rybakina has to beat Sabalenka.
Yeah, the matchup is actually very uncomfortable for Sabalenka.
It's so strange. And I think on grass, which is Elena's dream surface, it's her preferred surface, I would think that's going to be even harder. And so my pick is going to be Elena Rybakina lifting the Wimbledon trophy for a second time.
Good.
But I will say this, because I want to get your point. This is my overall thoughts on the draw, and I want to hear your response to it. This has been the least confident I have been in putting a top 4 lockout in a Grand Slam semi-final this year. I've gone for the Vance Bold pick in every single slam, and I do. But for me, I'm seeing potential problems for Iga in her draw. I'm seeing potential problems for Elena in her draw. I'm seeing potential problems for Marina in her draw. I'm seeing potential problems for Coco in her draw. And for me, because the other players are not as consistent, it's harder for me to guarantee they're there. So I'm kind of going safe. But for me, it would not be a surprise if none of the top 4 made it to the semis, and that this Wimbledon, an outsider winner is probably the most possible out of any slam. And kind of the results, the way the draws played out with all these potential banana skins and kryptonite in there, to mix my metaphors, it makes it more likely, especially when you have these concerns such as with Sabalenka's shoulder.
Yeah, I mean, I think more or less as last year. Right now in the women's game, probably Wimbledon is, the most difficult slam to predict, because, French Open, of course, on hard courts, golf right now has, had amazing results. And of course, Iga and then Sabalenka, especially at the Australian Open. Right now, she's won twice in a row. So you kind of have, it's easier to make the pick probably for other slams. I agree with this. I'm having troubles, let's say. Also as I speak, I keep thinking, I keep analyzing some things and being like, am I sure? And because each of them feels like there are troubles in their way. Before right after the draw came out, I probably thought, some uncomfortable matchups in Sabalenka's quarter, like Vekic, but still I think like Sabalenka's had it, probably the less difficult. But of course, with these concerns before watching her play, so we have not even had the proof on the court. It's not that easy, actually, and that's also why how can I be surprised if Iga wins the title, for example? And that's also why I've said no, I can't be surprised, because there's not like you have someone, even Rybakina, of course, has won Wimbledon in 2 years ago, and yes, last year actually it took only Jabeur, which is also someone with a very strong Wimbledon record, to stop her. But it's not like Iga Swiatek's reign at the French Open, so I can still see, if she wins Wimbledon this year too, maybe next year we're going to be a bit more, in similar way as we are, for example, for Iga at the French, or even a bit less, but still, for example, next year, Arina at the Australian Open, if she's fine, she's fit, she's ready, it feels like a strong case for her again. So, it's definitely difficult. and I'm super excited actually for this Wimbledon for many reasons. You know, also looking at the draw, and I don't want to make a comparison, but you know what I like right now in the women's tour, in that as I look at the draw in first round, I read all the names, and there are so many things I get excited for.
Yes, which is why I wanted to highlight all the great first rounds. We've got all the stories that are going to be in the mix for this title, for this Wimbledon. Yeah, I agree with you. I mean, like I'm in my head imagining a semi-final scenario where it's Vondrousova Pegula, and then the other semi-final is Raducanu Azarenka.
And there are so many storylines, because if we have this semi-final lineup, the storylines would be amazing. Actually, because Vondrousova Pegula would be the remake of the quarterfinal last year. We know how it played out. And of course, also, you know, there are so many, you know, things that can happen also outside the top four that can still really be exciting for pretty much everybody.
Yeah, so many stories in there. I hope anyone who's going to Wimbledon, who might be listening, is going to have a great time watching it unfold. And if those of you who can't go to Wimbledon, why don't you experience it through watching Talk It Tennis? We're going to be having lots of live streams starting tomorrow with all the big matches. We're going to get as many people across the coverage as possible. And we'll basically be doing live watch-alongs for the next 2 weeks, along with Last Ball Drops, which is our end-of-day podcast, with a rotating group of hosts, of which Mario and I are two of them. So I hope that anyone who's enjoyed this show subscribes and follows us for that. Mario, thank you so much for coming on.
Thank you. It's been probably a bit longer than I was expecting, but it's been great because this draw had so many things to talk about. So it's been definitely great for me.
Oh, me too. But hey, look, that's the point, right? We have to kind of go through all these stories. Right. Well, I think let's get ready for Wimbledon and let's all enjoy it. And whilst we all enjoy it, let's keep talking tennis.
If you enjoyed this video, make sure you hit that like button. Don't forget to subscribe and click that notification bell so you don't miss out on all things tennis.